everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I am here to review The Last Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Now, this movie was fascinating to me, and I was looking forward to this movie for quite a while, and it actually saddens me to see that this movie didn't really do well. Didn't do well on Rotten Tomatoes, and it bombed at the box office. Now, granted, the movie was made for what I'm hearing is like $55 million, which is not a lot in Hollywood these days. But either way, so when I first saw the trailers for this movie, I was like, awesome. Because the concept alone is amazing. Well, not amazing, but it's a good concept for a horror movie. Is period piece on a boat, is a crew stuck on a boat in a period where there is no easily accessible weapons and things of that nature, or there's no easy way to get out of this situation, and they're trapped on this boat with a vampire, and it's hunting them. That's such an easy slam dunk horror premise. You know, that's like Train to Busan slam dunk horror premise. Some of the best horror movies, like Aliens, are about the claustrophobicness of it, about a crew or a group of people being stuck in an area where it is not easy to get out of. Often in horror movies, the big problem is that the characters could run away. Is that theoretically the characters could run away. Theoretically, in the beginning of every ghost movie, horror movie, as soon as shit starts getting weird, they can hop on a boat and ride away. Or they can hop on the boat, they can hop in their car. There's multiple options for them they can just leave. Like, they can leave pretty early on. And there's always an opportunity for them to leave. Even later in the movie, they could leave. You know, traditionally, the characters try to stand up against the monster, and most of the time they end up winning, but sometimes they don't because they stood against the monster. Actually, a few times, they don't because they stood against the monster, and they could have just walked away a long time ago, and they decided not to. But this is one of those situations, like Aliens, and there's a lot of alien in this movie. It's like a period piece Alien in many ways in terms of the way it's structured and executed. Is like Aliens, there is no way off this. Like in Aliens, there was no way to leave. They're stuck on this ship with this thing, and like they gotta figure out a way to survive, kill this thing, or outlast this thing. And it's like, this is what we're stuck with. And in this movie, this crew is stuck on this ship with this vampire, and if you saw the trailers, you know it's Dracula. And they gotta survive. And like, they don't even, by the time, and it's a traditional horror movie. Like, if I had to describe this movie, it is like Aliens. It's like a period piece Aliens, except you sub out a xenomorph for a more monstrous version of Dracula. This is one of the more monstrous versions of Dracula. When you hear Dracula, you kind of you have an expectation of what he's gonna be and how he's gonna be. You have an expectation of, sure, maybe he looks like a vicious monster when he's feeding, but you imagine him to look like mostly a man. Here, he is pale, bald, and he looks like a creature. He really looks like a monster. And something I didn't realize until about a little bit before I was sitting down in the theater about to watch this movie, and it dawned on me that I was like, oh shit. So this movie is based off of a small little subplot in the actual Dracula book. In the Dracula book, which is something I forgot, it's been a very long time since I've read that old school Dracula book, but at a certain point, midway, I can't remember if it was midway through, but at a certain point in the book, after he's basically drained Transylvania of everything it's fucking got, he decides to go and find some new blood. So he hops on a ship and heads over to London. And when he gets to London, and the ship he rode to get to London was the Dawn Treader, or Last Voyage of the Dawn Treader? I think it's the Dawn Treader. Is this ship, the Dawn Treader. He gets on this ship, and the captain has a log, and the captain has a log, and they read the captain's log, and he's describing that something on this ship is killing my crew slowly over time, day by day, killing my crew, and until no one survived. He killed everyone on the crew. The ship crashed in London. He hopped out. Now in the book, he turned to because he shapeshift a lot in the book. He turned to a wolf and just jumped off. But in the movie, like, he doesn't do, like, that doesn't really happen. But once you realize what this is based off of, you know what kind of movie you're in for. This is an old school horror monster movie. It is an old school horror monster movie. It is about what you don't see. This movie's about an hour and 55 minutes. And for the first hour of the movie, it is phenomenal. Now, I think the movie itself is very good too. Overall, the movie is very good. But the first hour of the movie is just such classic horror shit. What you don't see, what you think you see, the mystery, what's happening. And like, once you realize, like, it's a kind of movie that once you realize what he is, you're just like, okay, I want to see the interpretation of it. Because this is a very unique interpretation of Dracula. They kind of went with a more Nosferatu vibe. At least when you get to the end, you realize they're going with a more Nosferatu vibe. Like, and the design of Dracula is creepy, just a pale white skin. The cast is amazing. That's the best part of the movie, is the cast. And the deaths are unexpected. And particularly one death is very unexpected. Now, if you read the Dracula book, then you know no one makes it off this ship. Based off the book, you know no one makes it off this ship, and you know he's supposed to make it in London. Like, that's just, you know, I don't feel like bad spoiling this just because it's based off of a fucking book that came out like a couple hundred years ago, or at least a couple hundred years ago. So I don't feel bad spoiling that for you guys. Or maybe it was 100 years ago. I don't know. It was definitely 100 years ago. A book that came out forever ago. So I don't feel bad spoiling that the Dawn Treader makes it to fucking London and Dracula makes it to London. So you know this ain't gonna end well. So this movie is a tragedy, really. It's like Aliens if Ripley didn't make it. Well, actually, I'll take that back. It is a lot like, really, I'm telling you right now, this movie is like a period piece Alien. Look, if you go into this movie and you just think, Aliens, if it was set on a regular boat with a regular crew, in a time period in like the 1870 something, that's what you'd see. You would get this movie with this badass, this vicious creature hunting everyone down. Everyone has their own personalities. This great crew. There's even an animal. And Dracula goes ham. Dracula goes ham. But either way, I enjoyed the movie. Like I say, it's an hour and 55-minute horror movie. There's not too much to it, other than them trying to survive Dracula. Now, there are some character stuff, particularly the main protagonist. I can't remember the actor's name, Corey something. He does an amazing job in this movie. He is the heart of the movie, really, and you really go on this journey with him. But there is a certain death in this movie that was very unexpected. I was like, wow, man, they ain't playing around, bro. This movie ain't playing around. And like I say, once you realize, like, oh shit, isn't there a chapter in the Dracula book? And I know it didn't go well in the book. You're like, oh, this shit ain't gonna go good. So if you're in faint of heart, I wouldn't watch it. If you know, but it's beautiful. I love the design, by the way. I love the setting. It kind of felt like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie at certain points, but whatever it was, they really used their budget well. And like I said, I heard this movie was made with like $58 million and shit like that, which is amazing because I can't tell that it was made by that. I would have guessed they spent $100. So if this movie really was made for that, that would be amazing because the movie looked great. It looked great. It was very accurate, at least the time period they were going for. I thought everything with the monster, at least before you start seeing it more often. Once you start seeing it more often, admittedly, the ending was sequel baiting like a motherfucker. I haven't seen a movie sequel bait like that in a long time, bruh. I have not seen a movie sequel bait like that in a very long time. Now, granted, I want to see that sequel. We're not going to get it because the movie's got like a 40-something% on Rotten Tomatoes and it didn't make any money, so we're definitely not getting that sequel. But my goodness, I did kind of, at the end, I was like, damn, that was hardcore sequel bait. I kind of want to see it. I want to see who he casts as Van Helsing and shit. I love Dracula. I love vampires in general. They're my favorite movie monster. I just think they're so versatile. They can do so much with them. And this was definitely a unique take on Dracula. They did the thing that some people do. Like, I'm trying to think of other movies that have done this. In the comment section, you guys can comment below movies that have done this. Where it's a movie based off of a book. And it's a popular book, and the book has been out for a minute. So they do an entire story about like a small thing in the book. Like, for instance, this is the only thing that come to my mind is Alfred. They did a whole show based on Alfred because Alfred always talks about in every movie, you know, Alfred used to be a badass in London a long, long time ago before he became a butler. So now they got to focus on that in an entire show. Things of that nature. I do appreciate that they took this small spot, cause like the whole Dawn Treader thing, it wasn't a long thing in the Dracula book. It was like a subplot that was like, oh yeah, that happened. This crazy thing happened. This boat just landed, everyone was dead on it. That's crazy. Captain's log is nuts. Like, that's basically what it was. And they took that small section of a thick book, that Dracula book's thick, and made an entire movie around it because it was a great premise to make a movie around. And I like that. I like it, like them finding a different angle on things like that. It'd be like, I'm trying to think what that'd be the equivalent of. I guess the Wolfman, you actually do see him get bit before he ever becomes a Wolfman. It'd be like if you made a story about some subplot in the Wolfman or something along those lines. Like, I love stuff like that. And it was a unique take on Dracula. It was a unique story to tell. It was very enjoyable. I would give Last Voyage of Dawn Treader, I'd give it an 8. I thought it was a very solid movie. I had a lot of fun watching it, man. My popcorn was gone. I was anticipating. I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know what was going to happen. But anyways, thank you guys for joining the Conquer Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. And have you seen Last Voyage of the Dawn Treader? You should check it out if you're into horror movies, especially if you're into horror movies, if you're into vampire movies, if you're into aliens too. I do think there's something to be said for this movie. Like, if you are a fan of that original Aliens, it really does remind me a lot of it. It's like a period piece Aliens. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Conquer Movie Show again. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.